5:15. Open up the meeting with 2 members of the water board present.
You have the budget?
Yes, I can.
Second. So, this is draft 3. Laura?
Yes, yep, it's as of an hour, right now, it's happening. I'll just tell you, you might not know, there's a few more changes, Tim. You can
So this
go-
one that we have here, that we've set that aside.
Yeah, the one that is, make sure we're looking at the right one.
The one in the package is now been revised.
Yes, Debbie we just made a quick change, and we'll see what you guys think about that. Just
What
one-
do we have to change? Laura?
Okay, let's go through it, Roy. Do you
Okay.
just want to make sure I have the right one in front of me, because I've got a lot of copies going on. And John, you can help me as I go along, okay?
Okay.
So we're looking at the budget that is $2,133,066 at the bottom there, Roy.
Yep.
Just make sure everybody has the right one. Jamie?
I do.
Okay, all
Okay.
right. So, since we looked at the budget last, Roy, we revised the superintendent's raises based on the personnel study and the business manager. And we now, on Form 4, if we can go there to look at the wages together, we have added the secondary operator, and we now have 2 positions that are union positions that we will not fill, called equipment operator and laborer. So those salaries were reduced. And we just added in the new salary for
So-
the secondary. So our organization for FY14 is going to be the superintendent, the business manager, the primary operator, 2 secondary operators, administrative assistant, and a seasonal laborer.
So what about the labor operator we had? These guys are gonna have to be qualified to run them?
Right, so
Machines and
like we
stuff.
talked about the CDL license and the
No, I mean like the high golf license, like Rob is
Right.
the
They're all-
operator now, so we're moving him to secondary, is that what
Right.
we're planning?
Rob will be a secondary operator. He applied for one of the positions, and he'll be coming in front of the board, hopefully for your approval. So that's kind of what we, have just reduced.
How much did that bring that down?
So actually, that is a savings of, I don't have my calculator here, John, 40 and 35, almost 75, no, more than that.
85.
Yeah, almost $80,000, okay.
40 and 35?
Yeah, it was
That's
39,
75.
yeah, 75 plus, yeah. So, on Form 1, line 3, the wages, the new wages are $206,182.
And last year we had 378,940.
Right, so there's a reduction there. The overtime and standby is, gonna be what it is. We have upped the unemployment insurance, the fiscal team meeting that Tim and John went to, we've increased that line. And we added a new line called collective bargaining reserve, $5,000.
What's that gonna be for?
And that is for potentially raises, based on the personnel study. Some of our union people will get raises.
Yeah, but we're not part of that, that's all personnel board, correct?
Right, so we're funding it because anticipation of that our union employees will have some increase.
Okay.
The maintenance line hasn't changed. The engineer, labor, engineering and operator Operation laborer hasn't changed. The treatment plant and the capital have not changed. The debt went down a little bit. We did revise the debt schedule. Karen Summons sent that over, and that went down $8,000. And we just dropped the indirect cost that was above the line.
So we went from the 192 to the 136?
Right. So, and that's because we're not paying back that deficit from the previous year. So our new budget is $2,133,066. We can, if you have any questions, we can go through it, or.
Well,
You were part of it.
yeah, I know, I'm just, it's quite startling that we're going from 378 down to 206 on the wages line.
Well, okay, so Tim, last year that 378 included overtime and standby. So we have that new line 4. So if you add the 206, 182, and 124, 395, John, you have your calculator there?
Yeah.
What does that add up to be?
330.
Right, so it's pretty close. When we eliminated, not eliminated, but we're not funding 2 different positions. So we're
So
still
we
going down.
And down
We're still going-
48,000.
We're still going down, yeah. And I didn't have time to do the math. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Um,
So if we don't go into a private company for operating the plant, we have money we can move over to cover wages if we bring another guy on, if we have,
Right, so the line 11, the private treatment, the private treatment, the 25,000, Tim, was the, I believe it was like 100 hours, $100 an hour times 20 hours a week times 12 weeks. So depending on what the decision of the board is, that's potential money that could be transferred at a special to the wage line.
you know, okay. So I think we're covered, Roy. But- So, did you work up the rates, Laura, on this?
Right, so I said, I've always had a little rate policy. I'll just give you, this is a really draft, guys. I was typing this as this seems to be, okay, here it is. Kind of, and we can look at, having like Ty and Bond come in eventually, or Dave Russell again, and to come in and do an audit of our rate structure, and, talk a little bit about the tiers and things like that. But I've always followed Mass Waterworks guidelines for setting rates. So basically, I'm looking at different kinds of factors when I build in the rates. And these are just kind of what I wanted to put it in writing so everybody kind of knew what I was doing. And we can talk about this, Tim. If you're not comfortable with this, or, we could bring in another company, a private company, to come in and kind of set different, audit our rate structure and maybe give us some new suggestions, like the minimum build, like a commercial residential rate, like a summer winter rate, a fire rate. They go into very elaborate ways of setting rates and different ways to looking at rates.
So you did drop it down 50 cents a
I
thousand.
did, yeah. So, but what we did, Tim, is based on the fiscal team meeting, and I'm still a little uncomfortable with this, but, I don't know, I wasn't at that meeting. They told me to eliminate the uncollectible line if you go to Form 6. So basically, what discounts and uncollectible is kind of like the overlay. It's like an overlay account. And maybe I didn't explain that clearly. Within most municipality water enterprises, you fund uncollectible because it's a formula issue in the free cash and the way they calculate our accounting of the water enterprise. And I can go into that a little bit in detail, and we can sit down with Sue and kind of talk about that. Right now, John, you and Tim went, and the fiscal team said to take it out. I took it out. But I'm not sure, based on the way I do, based on my policy, I needed that number. So we could always revisit this.
Let's talk a little bit about it now. So the number that you took out was, is this the older budget, this draft two?
I don't know which
That's
draft
great.
that is. To be honest
You
with
get draft two there, John?
I do. The one from 320? Okay. You got you. You're welcome.
No, and I think too, like,
You took out,
yeah, go ahead.
took out $41,662.
Where are you finding this at?
This number right here.
On which, what's that?
This was in draft two. She
Oh.
took it off.
Based on your meeting that you had
Yeah.
this week.
When we went to the meeting, they weren't clear on what that number really was. Plus, you weren't there. I wasn't sure how to answer their question, so. 41,000 out of 2 million,
It's pennies on the rate structure.
right, so, but what was the, the uncollected $41,000 factor in determining the rate? That only accounted for how much? You said it was like
Pennies.
half a penny, or a penny to what?
Well, so it would probably be like 15, 30, between 15, 25. I took it out, so I didn't do this new budget with adding that in, just because I'm just, in the middle of,
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you, I think it'd be like 2 cents maybe. This would be 15.27, or, the rate, if I added that back in, but we can try it this way.
Well, it was
I don't know
It
why.
was
What,
1575.
if we had to go back and raise it, what do we have to do? Then go back to town meeting, or is?
No, so I believe what's happening, and I wasn't, unfortunately, I couldn't make that meeting. There's gonna be a public hearing on our rates prior to town meeting, Tim, and maybe you can speak to that.
So I guess what we need to bring up tonight would be, what are we sacrificing by taking your number of 41,662 out of the factoring in for the rate? So I know that I thought I had a better grasp of the concept, but I don't. I didn't have enough of a grasp to relay it to them in your absence. So the 41,000, what are we sacrificing, Laura, if we take that out in the factoring for the rate?
Okay,
What's that number, 41?
so,
This, this is draft two, this is draft one. There was a number here that,
Yeah, what does that go? I don't know.
well, I thought it was because at the end of the year, we weren't collecting money to put into the accounts to make the accounting accurate. I think there was some kind of a delay, but that's what I thought it was.
you're right. So what they were saying is that you didn't collect it this year, and it's kind of washed out with the following year, which is true in theory. that uncollectible is a formula, it's not actual money. And that, it's an accounting, formula to certify our free cash, which we're gonna talk about.
Well, could I say that because this rate determination involves average numbers, accurate numbers, and just a general feeling from the people that run this place, what they think the rates are to be able to cover that budget figure? Am I saying that accurately?
You are, and I think what I said at the finance committee the other night, and I still believe is something, I would like to set up a committee. You know, right now, we're pushed to the wall and we don't have any time, but we really need to have a group of people together to understand how water rates are set throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. If you're in Raleigh, you're in Worcester, we're all doing the same thing. We might have a tiered system that's different, or they might have a seasonal rate, or, it's all getting around using the same kind of multipliers that I call multipliers. I look at the future, I look at the past, I look at our people that live here.
Yeah.
We don't have a large commercial base, and our commercial base they don't use a lot of water.
Right.
But in Worcester, their commercial base could be big and they use a lot of water. Ipswich has Ipswich shellfish, they use a lot of water. We don't. So it's just kind of I look at Raleigh, I care about Raleigh.
Yeah.
And when I set the rates, and there's an Excel sheet and there's a whole formula that I have from Mass Water Works, that I'm looking at different areas.
So,
And,
I understand. So can I say that you don't really use a set accounting protocol or procedure to determine these rates? You're using more of you encompass a lot of other things. So the fact is, including weather, which is unpredictable, to come up with a rate that you folks feel comfortable with to cover this budget we have.
well, we use a real formula, so that assumption that we're not using a real formula, that's not true.
Okay.
There is a formula. There is what I call multipliers. There's things that I'm plugging in, and when Ty and Bond or Dave Russell comes here, they're gonna pull out my information, and, I can show you, I got a request for proposal already, anticipating that maybe this is something that we would wanna do.
Yeah.
To show the public, to show our water users, that this is not just like we wake up one day and put a number in.
Okay, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying.
Some people have different, I understand that. I don't look at rates the way maybe somebody at town hall might look at rates. I just worry about what I know to be true here in our industry to looking at rates. And things are added to our rates, and, maybe it shouldn't be on the street. Nobody might have not, we put it on there, but other towns might not put the word uncollectible on there.
Okay.
I don't know why that word is on there. It's always been on, when I look back 10 years, John, that word has been there.
Right.
You've been doing that for 10 years. All of a sudden this year, it's not acceptable, which I find interesting. So it's always been a number, I plugged it in. This rate sheet you've been using way before I started.
Yeah.
This little sheet has been going on for years. I just filled in the numbers because there was a line there, but this is really what I'm doing.
Do you have any idea when the tiered rate structure began?
98.
98? Okay, so I don't want to laborize this subject. I think that I know enough about it to be able to discuss it. So what are we sacrificing, Laura, if we take the 41,000
I'll
out?
try it. I mean,
No, I'm just saying,
I just worry that this year, we're lucky because hopefully town meeting will pass the stabilization account. And if this budget rate structure doesn't come in, then the Board of Water Commissioners will go to the selectmen and we'll start the protocol. to take money from the stabilization to cover the rate structure not meeting what we needed to collect to meet our bills.
Okay,
So we never had that before, so I'm not as, if we don't have that stabilization, I'm concerned, because I have a cash flow, I have a profit and loss statement I look at every month. Some months, we don't collect enough money to cover our bills, but we have money in the bank. And I guess this is another area that we'll start bringing to the board and sitting down and looking at the cash flow and a profit and loss statement. I have it, I look at it all the time. You know, this month, you know, we collected 95,000 and so far we used 102, but we have money in the bank. So if you look at a profit and loss each month, you're gonna see it go, some months we're collecting more money and some months we're not. So,
Mr.
They're
Dalzell.
just coming in slow.
yeah, it is coming in slow. It is very slow this month, Roy.
Mr. Dalzell has a question.
Excuse me. On the monthly billing, you have $18,000. Has anyone thought about having somebody in-house do that? Or if go to quarterly billing, it seems to me like you would save 75% of that.
The issue with quarterly billing is that we didn't have money for cash flow purposes, so we were borrowing money from the general fund.
That tells me it's a spending problem.
I don't think that way. It just is a collection problem. And that was always the purpose of, you know, Jackie was involved in, you know, prior to me starting here, when you guys, the water commissioners decided to go monthly, there was a lot of discussion with the treasurer and with Sue Bailey and talking about the cash flow.
Many residents have asked
I mean, we could do that, Stu. I mean,
asked me about quarterly billing. It was so easy that way. One particular person in Florida for the winter, they tried to pay the bill online and that didn't work. And if they went back to quarterly billing.
I think the impact too was something, you know, we look at a monthly rate, the average rate, the average quarterly bill was probably something the Board of Water Commissioners looked at with this kind of budget.
$1,500 a month to send out bills seems to me a little excessive.
Well, the other side of the coin is that if you do monthly billing, then you can catch a leak at a house sooner, as opposed to waiting 3 months to get a huge water bill. You know, so the monthly billing kind of assists the homeowner or the customer in determining if there's a leak or we just had a toilet leak situation in the last billing cycle, didn't we?
Yes.
What did that come up as? How much?
So that was a $600 bill,
Yeah,
but it was a business.
so it was a business, but then if it was a quarterly bill, that'd be $1,800 more.
Exactly.
And so that would really, you know, be a hardship.
Seems-
So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Seems to me if a leak in somebody's house, they would hear it, unless it was a tiny one.
Yeah. And that's happened. There was another guy down the street that had a leak up in his back. He didn't even know he had a leak until he got his bill, right?
You take people that take off and go to Florida for the winter or whatever.
Excuse me?
When people take off and like go to Florida or something, they don't even know anything at all, you know, at least by the monthly part, they can pick it up here, you know. I mean, it's good points and it's bad points.
I'm just thinking of dollars and cents. Economics. Efficiency,
we can
mean
look
dollars saved.
Maybe we
Well,
can
I
look
see your
at
point.
doing
This-
bills
this-
in-house, you know, I don't, you know, I never really, you know, we could see how much paper cost and how much envelopes cost and, you know, the mailing is gonna be bulk mailing anyway, so,
Or you'd save something there
Yeah,
because
we
you're sending out a bill.
always use the outside company for this,
you
or
always
was it
did,
usually
no,
inside?
you always did, you always had the outside company. I mean, it's labor intensive,
No, I'm just asking, you know, in the last 4 years, I know we've done it, but I
You have to fold
know.
them, stuff them, you know, you have to have a staff, you have to hire somebody, because we used to do it, Doreen and I did it in Jackie's office. We used to do the motor vehicle bills, you know, then you have to sort them by postal code, and, you know, we had those big boxes, and we used to go down, we used to do it, but it used to take Doreen and I, 2 of us, you know, maybe 2 weeks, and we used to sometimes bring them home, and, you know, you have to do it all. We don't have a machine like these mailing companies have machines, you know, that actually fold and, you know, stuff and all that.
Well, even if you,
We could look into that. I mean, I'm happy to do that, Stu.
even
Why
if you
not?
left it at, even if you continue to outsource it, at least you would go from 18,000 to 4,500.
So maybe that would be something, Stu. I think now you're getting to this, what I think is a communication, you know, to get a committee to look at that. Let other people get involved in this decision so that when we present it, it's supported. I really believe that we need, the water department, more communication. That's not just the 5 of us sitting here. This is a really big decision. It was a big decision to go from semi to quarterly to monthly. Somebody,
The other reason,
you made all those
the
decisions.
other reason what I'm looking at is that it was gonna be the size of the bill, so.
That's what I think was the shock of the bill.
Right, so it was gonna be a real shocker of a bill if it did quarterly, but, you know, like you say, that there isn't an expense to getting the bills out every month. We've already spent, the money to get, the remote readers for the reading the bills on a monthly basis, and there was it was recommended, I think, by the engineer to do monthly billing for conservation purposes, to make sure that, you know, that early leak detection was a good reason to do that, but it's a tough thing. Every month you gotta come down here now and pay the bill, and the bills are high too, so. Getting back to the 41,000, how did you generate that, Laura? Just,
That's an actual number. See, that's a real statistic that I would use. So getting to my policy, I'm looking at real numbers.
okay,
That's a real number. That's a real minus to the water department.
what is it?
So
Where did the 41,000 come from?
those were people that don't pay us by June 30th. That's the only month we have to really worry about.
Okay, so June 30th rolls around and we figure we're short 41,000? And that,
In the formula, not in the rates.
in the
Because we
formula?
build them into the rates.
So-
Other people have paid that 40,000 for those people that didn't. That's how the rate structures work.
So, again, the 41,000 was from a number of uncollected monies from a billing back in end of May.
Right.
Okay,
So you're building into your rates
yeah,
a markup for,
For the ones that didn't pay.
okay,
exactly.
so the
So
money
that you can meet your budget. You're
okay,
back to your budget.
okay,
So that's
so
how
the-
it works.
so the point is, that I think they brought up, is that, okay, so in July, you collect in the 41,000 or 36,000 or whatever number it might be. How is that factored into the rate structure for the following year?
So this is something I would really need to understand more about what Sue does. It's not about the money, it's about the formula.
Okay,
So when you look at the free cash certification formula, the A2, John,
Yeah.
that has our retained earnings, our debt, our uncollectible, our inventory, these are things that no matter what money we have, the state is taking away from us because there's a liability. They assume that we're never going to collect that money, and they take that money away from us. So we can go clearly into the A2, and I think that might make this rate, you need to look at the A2 and look at the rate structure to maybe start putting, the lines together, Tim. That A2 is a very rigid form. There's definitely boxes you fill out. it didn't matter what money we collected or additional money we collected. It goes by what we commit, and then it takes away from all this other stuff to get down to a free cash certification. So,
I'm just trying to, I might not have the accounting background to understand this completely. What I'm just saying is that in July, we received monies that we didn't really get to close our books in June. So we could receive money in July. So in that, just that specific question alone, where does that money go? Does that go into,
so that has to
Goes-
be recertified to the following year.
so that's recertified in October or November?
Right, so it's not, you can't use that right now.
So when you calculate your,
You can't
rates.
use that money.
so this is like a factor that's gotta be carried through every year.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah, so I'm just trying to,
yeah. You always use that number.
I'm trying to clarify this so I understand it, so if somebody asks me,
Yeah.
I can talk with more of a understanding of what I'm saying. So, in other words, this money comes in July, and it goes into our bank account. And then, but it's money that wasn't, earmarked for anything because it's just a carryover from the previous year. So that doesn't really become a factor until the people that certify the free cash, they say, okay, you got this money in, and we couldn't put it in last year, but we got it in this year, so we're gonna certify that as free cash. Am I saying that right?
You're right, okay, so you're right.
Okay, so I see, I'm
Okay.
learning more by just asking.
Yeah, you're
Specific
getting it, Tim.
questions.
You're getting it. So keep that in mind as we go through the articles and we start talking about transfers from free cash to different articles. So in theory, what water departments, people can say the 55 is available now because you collected last year's this year. But that's not true, because that 55, the Board of Water Commissioners could decide to use as certified free cash to go to an article, not to your budget that I'm working on this year. All these lines.
So what I'm getting at, Laura, is what do we need to do? Do we need, so
We'll
if we've been
try.
doing this right along,
We'll try it.
and it's hard for me to explain it in your absence to people downtown that have much more experience in accounting than I would ever hope to have. How do I explain it to them? Should
Well,
we just keep the system the way we've been doing it right along, so we can compare it from year to year? So put the 41,000 in to do
okay,
the rate structure? Or should we say, okay, pull it out? So I want to say, let's put it back in. If we had a reason to do that, because it's going into the following year as free cash, because there's no place to sit. It's in a shelf that has no name on it.
exactly.
Okay, so am I saying that accurately? I
You
don't.
are.
Yeah, okay.
You are, Tim.
So do we need to put this back into
I feel that,
the factor to come up with a rate that's going to cover us?
so I feel that, once again, I just look at the water department. I just
Yep.
look at, what I learned and what other, how it works here. Now, we have a fiscal team that we never had before.
Yeah.
You have Sue Bailey, I don't know who, or whoever came up with the idea of taking that out. Maybe they have a reason, I don't know. So I wasn't there. So nobody communicated to me.
I know that. There's no.
So I don't know if we should
If we
put
need
it
it,
in, Tim. I think we should
The
go
point is,
with our
do we need it or
advice.
not? What do you think, John?
It's not a law.
You guys been doing it since '98. Do we
Yeah.
need to put it back in?
I feel like Laura does, that it's a.
So, now that I can explain it, let's put it back in.
Okay,
So is that gonna make the rate go down or up?
it's gonna make the rate go up.
Okay,
But
so
I
how
have
much
a
more is it
penny.
gonna go up?
I don't have it, I have to sit down at my computer again and go through my.
So are we talking pennies, are we talking nickels, dimes?
Yeah, we're talking pennies.
We're going 15.25 to say 15.45.
It won't go that much, yeah.
Okay, so what.
Because I have to look at, it's not just, people think I'm just putting these, it's a whole
Well,
formula.
I know, but, you gotta understand too that everybody's been really focused in
I
on
know,
this subject.
I know.
And it's only been just recently that they're focused in on it.
I'm willing to try though, if that's, you know.
I
I'm
think if
willing-
we've been doing it right along, we gotta just continue doing it, because we had a reason to do it. You have a reason, and I can explain it a little bit better now. So, do we wanna put it back in, Roy? I think so,
I think we should myself.
yeah.
Okay,
And we don't need to have a special audit team come in to look at our rates. You know, you guys, you've got so much experience with this town and this department, you know, just gotta go with it. Okay? So do we wanna, can you revise that quickly?
if you don't need me to be doing other things, sure.
So we can go on to,
What are you gonna talk about next?
well, I think we just gotta make a
You can do
change.
the articles.
We gotta change this, and then we'll approve the budget again.
We can go to the minutes, we never accepted them, we'll go to that.
Let's go to the,
Wait, Jamie, I think has a question.
okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. On form number 3, I'm sorry, excuse me, on form number 4, under wage and salary, that shows that there are 7 slated employees, is that correct?
Okay, so no, so those are union negotiated positions,
Okay.
Jamie. And you see that in many departments probably, where there's positions that the union has in their contracts, but we don't fund them.
So
So we
1,
have
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We had 8, 9.
Okay, so there's
Yes.
7 people.
Right.
If you will go to form 3, if I could ask you to do that, on the right-hand side, it says town share times 8.
Okay, take one out. I
And
was
then-
just the treatment plan person, that was
Okay.
the only give. If we move if we move Form 1, if we don't go private,
Right,
and we end up hiring, I don't know.
okay,
was
and
the
then
only-
down here is times 9.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll take that and make that 7. If you, yeah, that's good advice. Okay, we'll try that.
Okay, just because the numbers are not matching the amount of people that are employed. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, so that needs to be changed too, so that it's gonna maybe adjust the rates too, 'cause that's $10,000 there. So, of the 44 we just put in, we're gonna take out 10. So, any other suggestions?
No,
Okay,
that just.
thank
No, that's good.
Yeah, that's good, okay. So I might not be able to do this as fast as I.
Okay, we can work on the
Sorry.
minutes.
Yeah, no, I want it, no, this is great, no, Jamie, it's wonderful, honestly, I just am so consumed.
Have you written them?
So we can work on the minutes while you're making.
Okay, yeah, let me see if I can do this quickly, if I run into a snag, I'll let you know.
We get the purchase order, so we can do it.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Did we just increase the healthcare though? Did the selectmen just approve that, and I don't know that?
The dollar
they?
value per, if they did, I wasn't.
You didn't know that
We
either?
didn't talk
Wasn't
about
the-
it.
okay.
Discussion.
We didn't
Okay,
talk
this-
about
this is
that.
the old, this is still on
Right,
the old, we haven't.
If that happened, it wasn't in one of my
In
meetings.
relation to the discussion about John using the vehicle, we should have made up a policy that John should accept or sign regarding his use and conditions of his use of the policy, of the vehicle.
this over to?
I haven't given it to him yet.
The only one, that I would like to hold out, Tim, is, number 9, just till there's all 3 members are here on a new board. So maybe we should put that, I don't know what election is, what the date is, but change that to the date of the, election, then we have 3 members. You know what I'm saying?
So when is,
Number 9 one. Then everybody can, be happy what they're gonna do or not gonna do, or whatever.
Town election is May 14th.
May 14th. So we change that, say that 15th or something, you know what I'm saying? Or whenever we're gonna have a meeting, compared to the elections.
well,
But I do, one thing I would like to do is start getting back onto a regular thing, like we were talking earlier on the meeting about, it just makes it hard for everybody, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Wednesday night,
okay, we had originally said it was April 1st, I put a May 1st in here, so now we're gonna move it from April.
Well,
1st.
I just, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna have it in writing, I think we should have 3 board members, don't you think?
Yeah,
And
so,
then everybody's happy, and there's nobody,
okay,
school,
well,
whatever, whatever's gonna be happening.
so we'll call it May 15th.
Well, whatever, what's that, on a Tuesday elections? So we plan on having a meeting on, a Wednesday, or however you wanna do it.
Tuesday is on May 14th.
Okay. So May 15th. John, I'm gonna read that.
If you look this over,
What is that, the POs?
yeah, you look that over.
I'll take a look at it. Pete's Tire Barn. What is, you already went through that. Oh, this is just a running list of,
Yes, she's got a running list, you see with the little markers beside, those are the ones that are taken care of.
yeah. Let's take care of this first, and then
What's this on ACOP status, what's that?
ACOP is administrative consent to a penalty. You're gonna need to go through that because they discussed it. They settled out with the DEP on last Thursday. Sign that one too. Date. And Roy, you need to sign that. So for the record, we've come up with a vehicle use policy to allow John to use the truck in his time of need because he has a vehicle that is, needs some repairs, and so we've made a contingent upon certain conditions, and then we've been documenting this for the department and his personnel file. Essentially, we're requiring a odometer reading to be used to monitor his use, to just go from home to the department, and a few other things. So I guess it won't be a problem for you to just give us odometer readings on like a daily basis.
So basically what we can do is, I don't know if you and Laura had a chance to talk about what we did last week, the book thing, what we was gonna set up. Basically you make one of them up, same as, Rob and, JD, right?
Yeah.
Something on that idea, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I have
I mean, it isn't gonna be an elaborate
a,
thing.
been using.
Well, I'd like to see, just give me an email every morning, odometer reading, okay?
Every day.
Yeah. And maybe you could just make a copy of this for yourself. And I'll keep the 2 copies.
Alright.
Do we have a reason why we're looking at past ones we signed, or?
Look, see, beside, I was got the thing that's already taken care of, so it's just from there down, Kim, she's just keeping a running sheet of the, purchase orders, is how she's doing it, since we started doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want her to change something different, just let her know, but, I mean, that's what she's been doing, is just adding.
Well, I'm just wondering, because this thing's gonna get awfully lengthy for a while, right? So,
But, basically, what she's doing is let us know what's going on. Down through.
so these POs, have you looked at the POs?
Yeah, I just looked at the only one I didn't understand, Tim, is, this one here. It's got papers attached to it. Now, this is what you was talking about this morning, correct? Right?
Let's take care of the easy ones first.
Okay. That was,
Staples.
Staples for,
This is an easy one.
the only thing is you're gonna pull these out, so they don't break.
There's no coffee makers on there, is there?
I think they ordered two, I don't think.
Okay, so,
All office.
office papers and stuff, so, okay, so,
So I'll set that one.
yeah.
Two was good, fine.
Okay. Staples. Okay, so what's the next one? Saybrook Environmental.
Yeah, but this is, I haven't heard anybody say anything that we was doing this. This is, we got quotes and stuff. We gotta remove asbestos out of Station 1.
Now, there's some water main that we gotta get out of there.
Or is it old pipe all back, it's not something in the building, it's,
It's asbestos containing materials, so we gotta be
It's like-
taking care of that, we can't just.
but I mean, it's pipe that's outside the building, it's not something that's inside the building.
It's old pipe,
Old pipe.
so we gotta address that, so.
So we got 2 prices, and these 3 here evidently they didn't wanna bid on it. One of them said they couldn't. And, nothing here, so that covers. I mean, it's basically 3, using this one
Right.
and these 2 here, right?
Yeah, what about deck tan, did you call it deck tan?
I don't know.
Are these, union shops, these, Saybrook Environmental? Where are they at?
We use them for something else, right?
Yeah, we buy chemicals from, Lime, I believe.
You wanna put a hold on this until we check it out, make sure that,
No, I think that, if we didn't get quotes on it, $2,700 looks pretty, reasonable.
Yeah. it is.
Okay.
is there much down there, Jim?
No.
So what they gotta do is they gotta wet it down, they gotta first pull a permit, right? Then they gotta wet it down. And they go out there, they gotta make sure it's all
Yeah.
containers, and then they package it up
Right.
according to the regulations. They have state intervention, the DEP.
You get a radio, it is. Preparation of work site, engineering controls, decontamination, asbestos abatement, that's great.
That's good, all right, I'll go for that.
And soon as we get there, right?
Napa battery for truck.
Yeah, we could have batteries for truck, get battery, yeah.
So where's that? Is that a PO?
I haven't had a chance to
Okay.
get price on it yet.
So now we're down to the Weston and Sampson thing?
I got something there. Nope, it's all goes to this. So you wanna just scribble out one that, for us, that you put in a battery and truck number or whatever, or?
Yeah,
Is that what you want?
I don't have an exact figure on it right
And we need a battery for the truck, if the truck don't start, we need a battery, right?
now.
Okay, here you go.
Which
Here's,
one- which truck
here's the
that
new copies.
Uh,
Stu, here's the new ones.
Thank you.
Just gonna have to,
What's the battery?
yeah, this is Form 3,
$75,
Form 1,
Oh,
and
less,
Yeah, you gotta see them bring in.
yours. Okay, here we go.
Probably so.
Which truck is it, John?
This one's done,
The Ranger.
the water.
All right, thank you.
What do you wanna do with this one here? These are the invoices go with.
So the emergency response plan and the emergency operator invoices from Weston and Sampson. So the emergency operator is at 6,000.
Then for a month, so
So,
Is Amy finished with it, or is she still working on it?
all right, so Amy is now taking the emergency response plan and we'll be updating it next week and adding some new things and providing us with 10 copies. So we have probably still another 4 hours on it, Tim. And I did get quotes from other people. I did bring Ty and Bond emergency response plan. Is for them to do what Amy's doing is, just came to me in the email just right now, is $4,900 to do what her and I did for $600.
Yeah.
We're gonna be probably another, $400 or $500, but with copies, because it's a huge plan. One has to go to the police department, one to the fire department, town clerk, the selectmen, us, and the Wells.
I'm wondering if it isn't.
I started to procure it, so,
Yeah,
here's their price for that.
this is for the month.
so I don't want to get
Okay.
overwhelmed here. We have an emergency response plan need per the ACOP.
Right, you're gonna see it in the consent order.
And then we have an emergency operator need because we had to release some people. So we got two things going on. I know it's the one vendor, but can we put it on 2 POs?
Sure.
Just
Oh,
so we
yeah,
can track
sure,
that.
Definitely,
All right, so
sure, I can do that.
I don't have a problem with signing off on this. I think it's a
Well,
wonderful job that
you
you're
wanna-
doing that saved us money
You wanna
with,
sign this one and then have us start doing it the other way, is that what you want?
if it goes on to 1 PO, I don't want to get it, because,
Tim, I can write up another PO while you guys talk about other things.
Yeah.
I can actually write up
I
two
don't wanna
new-
get mixed
two new
mixed up
ones.
here with everything.
Those ones are all
These are all
set,
set?
it's just that one
All right,
there.
let me rewrite that PO.
Oh,
Alright.
sheet.
All right, let me rewrite this PO and add one to the sheet, all right?
Okay.
So, what do you wanna do next year? Let you doing that.
So, well, we gotta approve the budget, so
Okay.
she modified it based on,
Which paper is this one here?
this is draft, Jamie, this is yours. I don't wanna,
Thank you.
thanks, oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Thanks. So this is the one,
So it went up 15 cents on this one.
I think what she did is she just printed out the necessary sheets.
No, I'm just saying it went from the
The rate
15 and
change
quarter to
is
15.40 on this sheet. You get a copy of that, have you, Sue?
Yeah.
So it was the inclusion of that 41,000.
Right. It ended
So it
up
went
paying
from
15
15
cents.
What was the lowest rate on that budget over there?
15 and a quarter.
Today
15?
was 15.
No, the one we had before, last week. Wasn't it 15, 75?
75.
75, 3,
So we went,
the 320, yeah.
went from 15.75 down
Dropped it
to
down, 30 cents.
15.25, then we went back to 15.40.
And the difference is actually the 31,000 because the 41 that you added in and then the 10 that you took out from the side, so it's actually the 31.
So we went down again. I think, I'm happy with it. Again,
You wanna make a motion to?
I'll make a
send
motion that we
draft?
accept that and then send it uptown. I think that this is the last time. I think they're gonna be happy with this.
No, second it. All in favor?
Aye.
No second, table. You wanna start going over the warrant ones?
All right, here's those two, now, here's a separate, you have the bills, Tim, do you have the bills?
No, I gave you.
Oh, you gave them to me? Okay. Bills. Thanks.
Well, I want to, the purchase order, let's just take something. We got all bogged down in confusion.
This much paperwork, I don't know what's that.
All right, you're ready? You did get them to me?
So I sent an email regarding the Weston and Sampson bill. Did you,
This, is this the emergency contract one?
no, we're still talking about that Weston and Sampson going through some confusion today about how we're gonna handle that, so.
The one that we just had here?
Yeah, so in the package, I think there's an email that I sent to John and Laura. Did you guys read that, or do you have any questions with that?
I read it.
And it concerns Paul's expense as an emergency operator.
Yes.
So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we had a need to hire Paul Provost to handle our needs, to get another operator in here. And in the process of doing that, you got 3 quotes, or tried to get 3 quotes.
No, I have 3 quotes.
And Weston and Sampson was the one with the lowest rates.
Right.
Okay. So I think there would, you could sign for something under 5,000 at that time when you did it.
Under 1,000, and then the contract, I think there's another contract for you to sign.
Okay, so you can sign for under 1,000. But
Well,
what about-
John, yeah.
Yeah, so
and
but you know,
superintendent.
we covered the base because
Yeah.
we got the 3 quotes, and we got the lowest bid. So that contract that Weston and Sampson gave us keeps going until we have no need to have him here help us out again.
Right.
Okay.
And there's a new contract, Roy, I think on your desk by you, there was a contract there.
Is that in
um,
this?
For Weston and Sampson that needs to be amended to the original contract.
So we had a contract back in February when
It was on
the
the
primary operator and the secondary operator.
It's right here, that one needs to be, that's all part of the conversation now.
Okay. So that contract, Laura did the due diligence to find that we had the 3 quotes to see where we got the best price, and she got the best price. And so we entered into a contract at that time, the board, to bring on Mr. Provost to help us with the operation. And so now this amended contract is over and above that original contract. To
Right.
do what?
Okay, so what they did for us was they broke out, Roy, you'll see more positions there. And as we talk about in the next coming weeks, our work schedule here. And, these are just prices that we might use, or we might try to do this in-house somehow. We only have one operator here. That's the reality of what's happening here.
Yeah.
We have one person working here, and we have well rounds, we have hydrant that need to be flushed, we have 2 gate valves, we have the Raleigh Country Club, we got the Village Green. We had today 2 brand new houses, one on Weathersfield Street and another, John help me, on Cindy, I think, where we're putting in new water mains. We have multiple things going on. All of a sudden, the roads are opening soon. and-
Water mains or water hookups?
Water hookups.
Okay.
Okay, the water main is at the country club where we're looping it.
Yep,
So that's an inspection fee where we collect money
okay.
to inspect the water main going in. We might,
We don't have.
Didn't you say
personnel.
that before what they charge and what we got?
so
we
what,
gained
so,
on it?
yes, so the Raleigh Country Club has already given me a check for their water main inspection, for like close to $3,000. We pay $1.50 a foot for them to put in the water main. And, their price, I just looked at Weston Sampson, I haven't procured this one. It would cost us $300 to hire an inspector to inspect the water main, if Rob can't do it, or John, or Paul. So
this
I was
is-
just looking for, there might be a crisis, another crisis, where everything is due that day, the road, whatever,
Okay,
that we
so,
might want to look for other services. We've talked to 2, contractors in town so far, and we have another appointment tomorrow. So we're looking for people to help us do odd things. The fire department offered to help us at night flush hydrants, but that's something I would have to talk to Debbie about, to find out their overtime rate. And, when we do Route 1, we close down at night, we do the hydrants at night. John Weathersfield, the big roads we usually do at night.
Right.
So the fire department, Mark and Ronnie offered to help us. We need people that are experienced at opening and shutting fire hydrants, doing backflows and the dechlorination that goes on. We just can't just send out people and open up hydrants, because if they break them or they don't handle the hydrant flushing correctly, there's consequences.
Why do we have to close the road down?
We don't close it, we
We don't
just do
close
it at
it,
night. We just do it at night, I'm
Oh.
sorry. So that, if there's businesses or something at night, we're not interrupting their business, the restaurants during the day. We have the schedule on my wall in there. We haven't really talked about it with the board yet to see, we're trying to flush the hydrants while well 2 is up. They're gonna take well 2 down, in May for the conversion. So we need well 2 up and running to flush the hydrants. So we're under a time restraint here, and we haven't, really talked about this yet. We've been busy with the budget, but John will be presenting.
How many hydrants can they do in a course of night then?
Depends how quick they clean up. Usually it's a question of getting them to run fairly clear
So I
before.
mean, an average, 25 hydrants or 20 hydrants?
Yeah, on a good night, you could probably get that. It can be as bad as 10.
So I mean,
Dirty areas.
between the in-house here, we can't handle that, or?
Well, we need 2 crews, so what happens when they flush hydrants is, there's 1 crew at the hydrant, and usually, typically, somebody's down by the gate or the next hydrant. Just in case there is a break, just in case we end up breaking it, we have to shut it down very quickly. This is a big main going through there. When they're flushing, John, that water is just gushing out. So we usually have 2 crews. That's the way I've experienced it in the year I've been here. Somebody's up the road or down the road,
Yeah.
at the other end of it, just in case there's an emergency. Maybe some of the easy ones, we could do it, Rob has to do the well rounds. Jerry is doing other, he'll be mowing lawns and, doing other things. We could take them off, we can't take them off the well rounds. So.
No, but if we're gonna do this now, I mean,
We're gonna need help, Roy, and maybe not every night. We flush, I have the schedule on my wall, we flush typically, it takes us 2 to 3 weeks if everything goes all right. We were planning to start the middle of April and finish up before April.
I mean, I'd just rather see if we can use that, what we have here, our 2 guys,
Definitely.
instead of paying $70, $80 an hour for somebody to come do it. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
I guess we might wanna do the big areas with another crew, John.
Well, I'm wondering, so I think we ought to keep things real simple. If we need extra technical labor to do some work around here, and we got this contract that we're amending that was specifically designed to help us with operation,
Right,
can Paul Provost do flushing in the hydrants?
right. We might wanna, Weston Sampson offers a reduced rate for a
It's-
different kind of operator.
It's just $78 a night though, I mean.
Yeah, but don't we have the rates already? Do we have to go with a new contract, or we can just keep the old
No,
contract?
because we don't have all those different positions,
So there's different positions here?
different positions. We might not use them, Tim.
Oh, I know.
Well, what I'm saying here, Tim, that's an awful lot of money for somebody to open and close.
I know.
So
So
that's
see,
why,
if
Roy, we might
it's-
use the fire department, if Ronnie and Mark Emery, because Mark Emery can do it. He
But
offered
I'd
to
like
help
to see what
us.
they're gonna, what that's gonna cost.
I don't know what
That's
their
too pricey.
overtime
Where's
rate
the old
is.
rates, Laura, where's the old rate structure? from the
It's
old
on the
con-
other, it's
February.
we're paying $100 an hour.
So our rate, Paul Provost is the primary operator, what's his rate?
It's 100.
It's 100?
I have the rate structure
Yeah.
for new employees in the car. I'll go get it if you
Okay,
want.
yeah. It's just, I'm not saying we're gonna go with this, Roy or Tim, I'm just saying it's there and we're.
No, I was just looking at $78 an hour.
You're absolutely
Well, I see
right.
the senior water system operator, I'm assuming is a primary operator position, it's $80 an hour here.
Yeah,
Or is a senior water system operator, on the weekends is 90. A water system operator is $68. So if you had a secondary operator from Weston and Sampson, we'd be paying 68 an hour?
yeah, I would have to get into that with them, I didn't wanna, I wasn't sure you would have needed all, Tim.
Oh, I know, it's better to have a lot of these things related to,
We had a private company come in here this week and talk to John and I, and they do Linfield, and this is all they do. He's a, he's an
What, flush hydrant?
flush, but it was gonna cost us $18,000 for us to use him to come in and, right? He
Yeah,
was-
well, they do
he was-
directional.
I think so, maybe you and I will jump in the pickup and grab a wrench and go out and we'll do something.
And, yeah, and actually, something,
Flushing
definitely, you wanna
both
do it? You can do it
fees.
for me.
No, for $18,000, you could teach us pretty quickly, just.
Yeah.
We're starting to get ideas,
my point being is that, I think, didn't we have a rates covering this need already, or do we?
No, because now we have cheaper rates in there for other.
So are they offering us cheaper rates
Yeah,
with this new
they're offering us
contract?
a better deal.
So that's why we're modifying, because we're
That's
getting a
right,
better
we're
deal.
gonna get a better deal, Tim.
That's what I like to hear.
We're trying to save money, we are, and Weston Sampson is trying to help us.
Yeah, I know they
Um,
are. They're doing a very good job.
So I really feel like it's a good thing. We might not use it, but we only have a couple of more meetings before we might be talking about fire hydrant.
Well, I'm just saying that the reason to modify or amend the contract from February is to get better rates,
Exactly.
Exactly.
right?
Now, have you gone through all this?
I have,
Is
and
it
I
the
sent
same,
it over.
the same as the
I
other,
did
it's
send-
just the prices have changed?
Right, I did send it over to Debbie Roy.
Yeah.
She has a copy of all the contracts. She has, she didn't see anything that alarmed her,
So where do you want us to,
If you could
Well,
just-
does Paul's rate go up or down?
That's the count.
His stays the same. His license, we're using his license, Tim.
Okay.
So he's a little different than anybody else here.
So I kind of want to keep it
In-house.
segregated,
Lieutenant?
I get
that
it.
we use Paul as a regular operator,
Firefighter.
substituting in for our primary operator.
Right.
It must be a coal firefighter camp.
To bring in another task here, I don't want to use this.
We would bring, I would assume John and I will sit down with you and schedule and bring Rob in.
Well, it gets back to, getting some assistance from Weston Sampson, other than the treatment plant,
Right.
where we already
Yes, we are.
looked at their rates
Because
in
this
the
is the
past.
non-union, okay.
We're
this
already
is the
giving, on an
non-union.
on-call
Okay, I
basis,
don't have
we
the
can
information.
call and say, we need some
Okay, so
help.
I don't have the
And then they'll give us a contract like this, we sign up for a specified, it's like a task order.
Right.
It's very limited, it's very specific. You understand me?
Yep.
Okay. So then we bring them on to do a task, and then we go on to a next thing. So we want to kind of make sure we're on top of, what this is costing. If we have a need, there's no dispute that we need to do some certain things for a variety of reasons. We just want to make sure it's very specific and not very broad, open-ended, to be able to encompass so many things that.
in other words, you're saying, like, when they build and they send it as fire hydrant,
Yeah.
or water main
If we need,
repair.
if we can't get Rob or John or anybody out there to flush hydrants, when we need to flush them, then we can bring somebody in that's qualified. That's something you could probably do under this, but we gotta have a reason why we're gonna put it in that cubby hole. Okay? So we wanna be able to say, okay, that makes sense. And that's why we did it. Okay? So I guess, if it's a cost savings, so we have to sign the contract. Can Roy just sign that?
Right, you need a vote. You need to vote.
All right, I make a motion that we sign the contract.
Second.
We'll amend that February contract primarily for operation. Can you second it? And then all in favor, I guess. All right.
You want both of us to sign it that way there?
Yeah, sure, why not, Roy? Yeah.
'28th, didn't he?
We gotta go to the articles after this, Roy.
Pete?
All right, what cubby hole does this belong in? It's a new word for today, cubby hole.
Emergency. That's what I'm working under. I'm working under emergency. That's all I know.
We gotta go to the articles next.
Okay.
You got my email about the stabilization fund?
Yep.
Do we have that article?
So in your packet there, Tim, there's something called FY13 town meeting, special town meeting articles. And all the articles that, some are over in Debbie's office right now. The ones that you emailed, Debbie said she'd talk to me and John tomorrow morning. John?
Okay,
and go through all of these and, you know, she'll be working with us tomorrow to
Okay.
kind of get this 100%.
So
You
we-
wanna go through them one by one, or?
So, where, I don't see them, is it?
I have it on the back of
I thought we decided last week we was gonna put the gate valve exercise thing in.
I think we ended up putting that on hold, Roy. I don't, we can throw that in, we have time tonight to talk about it.
I thought last week we talked about, we needed it,
Need what?
the gate exercise.
Yeah, we did. So that went forward down there. We were gonna talk about it at that meeting. We didn't get around to talking about it.
That's what happened, so I left it out, but I'd be
Yeah.
happy to put it back in, Roy, and see what Debbie says tomorrow morning.
So
No, I know we left
We
it
already-
to talk about and,
I gave, yeah,
we already put forward some articles. They can discuss it, or if they don't like it, then we can
okay.
address that
The right
at a
sheet.
subsequent
I got the
meeting.
right sheet.
But the two things that came up were, because of our meeting and also with the certification of free cash, the free cash is money that we can use or put forward at a special meeting to pay for some things we need, whether it be, I think, maintenance or capital equipment or whatever. So it's certified as it being available. But
can
if we
that
don't,
be used to straighten out, this number 3 one?
which is number 3?
On the, on the article stuff she's got here for us.
Number goes down.
You get that one?
On the
The
pending?
garage,
Yeah.
the garage, right?
Yeah, on the, I mean, is that something that can be used to try and straighten that mess out?
What I understand from Debbie is that we cannot do anything with that article until the selectmen meet with the Board of Water Commissioners.
Well, what I'm saying is,
No, we can't.
no, what I'm trying to say is, we don't wanna be using money out of that article. In other words, whatever the number is on this number 3 one.
There is no.
We wanna make sure it stays there so if we can use it.
There is no garage article, is what I'm being
No,
told.
what I'm trying to say is, we gotta pay this eventually.
It would come out of the stabilization, Article 8, right above that, the 185,975, Roy.
Okay.
That's where the money would be, right?
What I'm saying is, whatever the number is on the number 3 one, we've gotta set that money aside
It's in the.
and have it there when they straighten it out.
It's in the stabilization, it would be an unforeseen, you know, it would be,
Let me just finish what I was saying. At some point during the year, they look at previous numbers and they come up with what wasn't spent. It's available, wasn't spent. And that money comes up, somebody certifies that number. And comes up with a number that we can tap off of. We only can tap off it by putting it forward in an article to tap that money. If we don't use the whole amount, then that carries over in the bank account, which can't be used the following year.
So,
when they
what I'm
certify
trying to say, Tim, is we wanna make sure that we get some money set aside when this gets
You
straightened
can't
out.
set it aside unless you have an article. And if the article doesn't materialize for whatever reason, for covering the expenses of the garage.
It
we
just
have
makes
to
sense,
figure
we
out
should have,
what-
should we have an article in for that still, somehow?
Timmy's trying to explain it to you.
So, we're not sure how we're gonna take care of that yet, because we're not gonna put an article forward to cover that expense for the garage. So unfortunately, what happens is that the people that want their money, they're gonna be very upset. So they're gonna start coming after us. So we gotta figure out how to do it. We just can't do it with an article at this time, because we haven't got the thing together. So, we don't. Be
I
nice
mean,
if
I don't know how it
we
works
said-
in town, but somebody's gonna be wanting to take us to court for not paying the bill, and,
Yeah,
you know, it's gonna be straight
so what
around.
happens is that we go to court or whatever, and we come up with an article next year. That's our only option at this point. So I know it's disgusting, but that's what it is. We gotta figure out how to take care of it. We haven't figured it out yet. We're still working on that problem. The problem is there, everybody's aware of it, we'll come up with a way to take care of it. We haven't come up with it yet. We can't take care of it with an article. It was a nice idea, but it's not gonna be happening like that. So we'll figure it out. Don't, be assured, we'll have to figure it out.
You get no choice.
So, but it will be figured out, it's a riddle that hasn't been solved yet, and it's gonna be solved, so. Truck replacement,
We did away with that.
That's on hold, those are all on hold.
these are from,
Yeah,
Yeah, those are.
gate valve exercise program.
I can quickly add that tomorrow morning, Roy.
I thought last week we talked
Yeah,
about
I
it.
just didn't have time to get prices together, John maybe you and I can make a few phone calls. The fencing, I started looking into that, it was getting complicated, I have to do linear foot and, how high you wanted it and, that kind of thing.
You know what we want out there, John, right?
Yeah.
Something like 20 feet by 10 feet by, what, 6 high, 8 high?
6 of them.
Yeah, at least get a price,
Alright.
So we'll,
So this money is used to take care of a need, whether it be a storage area or gate valves or keys or whatever capital expense that we need, okay? So do we have an accounting of what we got so far as articles? What does that, we put in the stabilization fund thing here. So how much money do we have? What's the running total
okay, so.
for the transfer of free cash?
so-
Maybe we should start with the actual necessities. We've got to look at the article for creating a stabilization fund. So we need to put that forward, and we need to vote on that.
Right.
So we need to place an article on the town meeting warrant, creating a special purpose stabilization fund for the water department. That's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Alright.
And then the next motion is to transfer and appropriate the sum of $75,000 from free cash to the stabilization fund. And that's the line item that was on that first page of the budget we just approved. So we're kind of doing things backwards here. Gotta do it. So, do I have a second?
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye. So we get that article, you have the verbiage in the article, is downtown gonna take care of that?
Debbie's writing that article for us.
Okay, so that's gotta be written a specific
Judy
way.
Pickett, yeah, Judy
Yeah.
Pickett.
Or those two articles, I'm not sure if it's one or two.
It's two.
It's two articles, okay? So having said that, what kind of numbers are we dealing with for all these articles we put forward? Because I hate to put a whole bunch of articles forward and find out that we don't have the money for it, because,
Do you want to just go through it and the cover sheet and all the articles are attached? So I think we've talked a little bit about some of these already.
okay.
So the first two articles for $3,918.96 are transfers. So transfer within Article 6 from one line to the other line. The first one is for the refunding of the water building. This building will be moving from line 165 to 155, $1,500, and then for interest, it's $66. The acting superintendent article is going to be transferring from the wage line to the business manager line.
Okay.
Then the next group of articles, which now are 9 plus the gate valve, 10, 11, we'll do gate valve, and then we'll do the storage area, are all free cash articles. Transfer articles from free cash, Roy, we were certified free cash at $344,050. The first article that would be a transfer from free cash into an article is for the unemployment for this year, $25,000. The second article would be for 2 filing cabinets for $1,200. The third article is for the fence, keys, and alarms for the wells, is $6,000. The fourth article is for the safety equipment for 5,000.
Is that the boxes and stuff we gotta have at the, all the stations?
That's for the gas, you know, and the oxygen sensor and all of those things that we talked about. Now we're getting into new articles that are a part of the consent order, the administrative consent order. The first article is for standard operating procedures, and we'll talk about that when we get into the consent order a little bit. I'm starting to procure that. And a standard operating procedure is going to be a huge manual for the water department, for any new employee to come here and know exactly what you do when you come in, what reports are required, how to operate every single thing that we operate, where things are, where do we go. It's a kind of a manual for the water department. It'll have ethics in it, it'll have code of conduct in it, it will have personnel kind of issues in it. We just started getting prices. I have a couple on my desk right now. Debbie's thinking I should up that to 10, but I'll talk to her tomorrow. You know, we're putting articles forth and I'm trying to get quotes. I have these little sheets now for everything we do here in the water department that will come to the Board of Water Commissioners that have a quote, a description of what we're doing before we start procuring it, who we called, what kind of prices we got, and emails and whatever, you know, communications. So for every one of these items, you're gonna see something like this from now on.
Okay, so we've identified needs, and
Yeah.
we're putting numbers to it in
So
the form of an article.
actually, I'm gonna up that to 10. John will probably have to change these numbers a little bit.
Okay, so the total of free cash, well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Go
so,
ahead.
so that, it's gonna change a little bit. Then the emergency certified operator is really the Weston and Sampson emergency right now. You know, we have $6,000 that we spent. Currently, in the budget, the way it sits, there's no unforeseen emergency line in our budget, and there's no stabilization, there's no reserve account that would cover this money for FY13. It has to be an article to correct some of the bills that we're gonna be paying. So that's what this article is about.
Okay, so on that article, why aren't we moving money from the money we're not spending on the labor thing over to cover that expense?
We're not sure that we're not gonna hire anybody between now and June 30th. I think Debbie's gone both ways, trying to figure this out with us, John and I. That makes sense, but if we hire somebody tomorrow, then that money has to come out of the wage line, out of what we've set aside for the other employees who no longer, it was getting too, you know, I don't know what those people are gonna be hired at, you know, what the on-call and, you know, it's just, we decided to do it out of free cash, because we have the free cash, it's cleaner to do it this way.
Okay, so we could do it by pulling money or transferring it out of the labor thing, but we have a moving target there.
We do.
And so it would make sense to go to free cash because that's money that's available, but the money that we're not going to use in the labor account is going to go to free cash anyway next year.
Following year, yeah, exactly. That's how it works. You got it, Tim. So that's an article Debbie's kind of helping us with. The actual consent order is our fine. That's what we're being fined, $25,875 by DEP, and we're going to talk about that in a little while.
So is that an article?
Yeah, Article 7, and Debbie's writing that article for us.
That's coming out of free cash?
Yep.
Okay.
And then this stabilization account is gonna be minus $2,000 here. It's gonna, this stabilization, 185,975,
That's where you go from the 8 to 10.
it's gonna be the balance. Anything that we don't use out of the 344,050 will end up in that account.
No, but you're saying the 2,000 difference, that's from
It's
the
gonna come out of
number
there.
5.
Yeah. And then the gates and the, whatever the storage is gonna come out of there. And that's the article Judy Pickett's helping us write.
Okay, so we're going to have a zero balance on the stabilization money come July 1st.
No, it's gonna be in a, I haven't talked to Karen Summit yet,
Well, you said you're gonna dump all the money into the,
Yeah, but that's gonna be in a bank account. That's gonna be in a bank account for the Town of Raleigh Water Department. I haven't gone there with her yet. And that would be something, a vote of the Board of Water Commissioners, a vote of the Selectmen's Committee. For us, any unforeseen emergency would come out of that account.
okay, so we got a stabilization fund
Right.
article. That's supposed to be for the filter membrane.
That's the next
Replacement.
one. Debbie wanted number 9, the 75,000, Tim.
That's the money we're gonna start setting aside each year for the,
Yeah, that's gonna be truly for,
Where is it on the budget?
that's under, it's not in the budget, it's an article from free cash.
Okay.
These are all gonna be articles now. Right now, currently, Tim, you have an
Well,
article.
what happens to line 14? We got a blank line there, Laura, that's,
So next year, that will start being, we're gonna start reporting what our stabilization fund has in it next year. If we put money there now,
we don't know if we're gonna get it approved at town meeting, so.
right, that's the
That's why
problem.
it's blank.
You can't vote it, because that, Form 1 is Article 6 on town meeting warrant. You can't put money in Article 6 that we don't know that the town is gonna vote for until they vote it. So,
Where's line 6? Line 6 on Form 1?
no, it's Article 6, you don't see.
Okay,
Yeah,
line, Article 6.
yeah, it's Debbie hasn't, she uses this information to set up our article.
Okay, so we get 12,000 for the emergency certified operator.
Right,
We're putting forward as a
article,
article
right,
out of the free cash.
right.
And that 12,000 is gonna cover going forward, or is it gonna cover some of the stuff we have in the back?
Oh, it covers right now what's happened, the 6,000, that, it's gonna be Sue Bailey will be doing if that article passes. If it doesn't pass, then we have to do, it's in our maintenance line, and as of probably 60 days now, we have not, you've seen our warrants, they're very, very small.
Yeah.
We haven't, we're kinda on a freeze here. I mean, that was direction, and nobody's working here, so there's not, I don't buy material unless, we have a water break, and luckily we haven't. So, right now, all of this is coming out of our maintenance line, and I'm doing okay in the maintenance line. So, I'm working on the cash flow, on your profit and loss statement.
Right.
I'm looking at things unforeseen in front of me and trying to work the budget the way it is. And I'm disclosing this to Debbie and to Sue Bailey and to Karen, so everybody knows
Yeah.
that we're in an unforeseen emergency here.
Okay.
So, it's difficult, to say the least. So then we would have another stabilization account forever in time, Tim. Every year, the Board of Water Commissioners will vote to see if they want to put money towards the filtration system, the filters at the treatment.
well, we're gonna have to,
You're
we're
gonna
gonna,
have to, if we
come
have
7
it.
years down the road or 10
If we
years down
have
the
it,
road.
Roy, if we have it. If we
See,
don't have it,
I'm kind of confused now a little bit here, because we're working up rates, and we got the capital plans up in the section that we're looking at the budget, right?
right.
And why don't we have it down below in the indirect capital article budget down below?
Okay, so that's an interesting, we talked a little bit about that to the fiscal team over the last couple. We could take all the capital, the hydrant replacement and the gate valves, and use free cash to do that, and take it out of the rates. The way we're growing up here a lot. There's very good conversation going on, new thinking of how to handle some of our expenses. Right now, the way it was left on that sheet, on your budget.
Where's my sheet, John? I generated, John. You got a sheet that I pulled on. Where's that?
It's something different.
So the 5-year capital plan, we could go there on your budget,
Yeah.
which is the capital plan program. The fiscal team felt these were reoccurring capital items, so they wouldn't really be an article, unlike a vehicle purchase or the loader or the air compressor or the gate valve. Hydrants is something that's going to be a more routine kind of thing. So that's why some are articles. The fiscal team came up with that capital plan program versus the articles. And that's why it's not coming out of free cash.
I know, but there was a specific request at the meeting that you weren't at.
Oh, I'm
to take
sorry.
those items out of this portion of,
Oh, I didn't hear that.
yeah.
Oh, I
Take
didn't
these
know
things
that.
out and put them down here, because this is the number we're generating the rates from.
All of this
So,
is raised.
I know, but, well, so
But
all
they-
of it's rates, so,
What I talked to Sue Bailey today, Tim, on Form 1.
yeah,
The only thing she told me to drop below the line was indirect cost.
okay,
So you
Right.
can, that used to be above the line.
okay.
She didn't
Right.
tell me
That's
about
what
the
she-
capital plan
Okay, so we
program.
talked the other day, and then she changed her mind.
I talked to her at 4
Okay,
o'clock
all right,
today.
that's okay.
So,
I don't, like I said, we took notes, and now we can't find them, right?
Oh, I've been through so many revisions today.
Yeah. And so then you guys hashed it out, because there was, you know, my head scratches all over this budget, and you worked it out with them downtown?
yeah,
Okay.
I didn't see your notes,
Yeah,
Tim, to be
right,
honest with
right,
you.
yeah.
I wrote on John's copy of the budget when we
I
talked
could
about it.
check with them tomorrow if they want to drop that below the line. This is not going to be what you see it. You know, town meeting, Debbie takes this information and puts it into the article. It's
Yeah.
going to have words above it, you know, and words below it. And then actually indirect cost is going to be Article 7. This is actually Article 7 and this is Article 6 typically. I can show you what the article looks like. Should have brought it in with me.
I'm gonna take an intermission.
Oh,
No.
Okay.
what's that?
I would just unplug it.
You don't know what happened to that copy, huh? Or,
It was back and forth, with Laura, and I had left it for her to make some of the modifications.
Okay, so everybody knows what this looks like, right? The warrant, Tim? So Article 6 on Form 1. What Debbie's gonna do is put in Article 6, all the words.
yeah,
And then she's gonna start moving this stuff into this format. Okay, and then we go into the indirect cost, which is Article 7. We typically have 2 articles, which is 6 and 7.
yeah,
So this form is not gonna be, I believe, in this document.
here it is.
All right.
Oh, we're in intermission.
Yeah, I think I don't think that was the case. We didn't move that thing out, Laura, so.
Okay,
I don't know, we talked about that maybe at a previous meeting, so.
all right. Well, I
It's
did
kinda-
what Sue suggested, and,
Yeah.
I think it's a good, it was good.
Okay. So,
So those are the articles that I have, in your packet.
yeah, how much was the free cash?
$344,050.
So we empty the free cash account?
You always do, into
Okay.
an article or into stabilization. If you don't, then that's okay too, you just get recertified.
But we had free cash, thank God,
Yeah,
available this year.
yeah,
And we're setting money aside
right,
for our anticipated big expense. It's somewhere between 5 and 7 years from now to cover the new replacement filter for this plant we have. So we're not gonna be, we got money earmarked for that. So that was one of the reasons why we put some money aside in a stabilization fund. We have another stabilization fund, maybe I'm
Yeah.
speaking wrong,
yeah.
that's gonna cover emergency expenses that we anticipate throughout the year, so we can draw on. And the other thing is, from the articles we have, it's gonna be earmarked for that. Now, if we don't spend all that money for that particular article money, then that money gets put back into the, as unspent, and it goes into the stabilization fund the next year?
No, so, that's a town meeting, we would go back to town meeting and ask for a
Well,
transfer.
I'm saying, if we don't spend all that money,
Right, it's a
it gets
town meeting.
into the pool again for recertification
No.
for free cash?
No, not until it's already certified free cash,
Right,
it's an article, it doesn't get recertified.
so what happens if we don't spend it all?
So, what we would do, we've done this in the past.
Okay.
We have right now a gas fee article that has like $3,000 left in it.
Okay,
I could see, us, the Board of Water Commissioners, voting to transfer at another article at town meeting next year, transfer the balance to maybe the stabilization account.
okay, so
Or-
there's an article involved?
Yeah, you can't
If you don't spend it
certify
all.
the
Okay.
money.
All right.
Only if you do not put it in an article, never use it, then
Okay.
it goes back into the world
Okay.
of
All right.
certification. It's busy. It's a
So what's
busy-
that, do, go back in the general fund?
No, it's always water enterprise money. No. It's always, it's ratepayers, the ratepayers' money, it always is accounted for in the water enterprise. Oh, yeah. So,
Okay, so we're running lean and mean right now,
we are, it's good,
and
it's good budget.
the only other thing is with the pending articles on hold,
Right.
so do we have, can we put some of those things forward? Do we really need to do that this year, or can we put it off? What do you think, Roy? We can't do anything about the garage article. Truck replacement,
We're not gonna do anything with the trucks.
gate valve exercise,
I'd like to see if we come up with a different price for that gate, because you said you really need it, because the other one broke, correct?
It works, but it's
On its way
not
up.
reliable.
And on this other one, number 6, I know it's not gonna be that number, but I would like to see, just where we chopped it in 75% of what we was thinking of before, Just to have a number.
like the gate valve exercise tool. We should put it forward, I think, because if we're gonna need it.
I mean, John said it's very important to have it.
Because next year, we might not, with the way we're running lean and mean, we might not have the opportunity to buy it next year, because there might not be free cash, who knows?
Right.
So we need to put that forward and, as a need. And that just comes out of the fund that we empty out the rest of the balance on the free cash. So what do you think, John and Laura?
Yeah, you can do it, but it'd be great to have.
Well, can we do it?
Sure,
Okay,
you can do it.
storage area.
The thing that I was thinking, Ken, and as I said last week, it's just a fencing thing to put some of the stuff in there, so it's locked up, and it can't be picked up, the stuff that can be, You know, we get some valves out there that the record guy can pick up and walk off with if he wanted to.
Yeah.
You have a storage area down to Station 1, all chain link fence.
And then you get stuff down there and stuff up here, you know. But I'm saying, if you had it out here against the building still, everything's in one place, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we got another thing too, we got are we still renting this, storage unit?
No, we don't.
No,
Or do we own it?
We always own that one. We rented the other two,
All right,
which
so
we
we could-
returned. We returned those a year ago,
Yeah, so we
maybe
could-
longer.
Rearrange things out there so we'd have some secure storage with that thing, plus maybe a smaller storage area.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we originally was talking about having it the whole length of that building and a roof and everything else. I'm just talking basically a big dog kennel. You know, but get a price first and see what it is. We don't even know.
See, we need to get this done tomorrow, you know, we're down to the wire, so maybe, you know,
Well, we got,
10 feet
Yeah.
out, 20 feet
yeah,
thing, and what, 6-foot fence.
yeah.
You know,
well, did we already get prices on that, or?
no.
I didn't do that.
Well, I think we ought to put those two things forward, so,
Okay,
all right?
all right, so we'll add those to the list, and John and I will.
So did we vote on this last time, Laura, and we need to
Well,
vote
let's
on
vote
these
again.
pending things, or?
Let's vote again. We did vote on most of them, but I'm sure you'll see this one more time, probably.
No, we're not.
No, you're done? Okay.
You wanna make a motion?
Make a motion that we, make those two pending things, over to the articles. And do we have a balance right now of what do we have for free cash?
So it's gonna be, at the end of all these articles, we're gonna use all our free cash.
So what's the total now? I don't wanna put it forward and say, okay, we don't have enough money.
Oh, no, you will. So we're.
Okay, so
Article
you'll make the
8
numbers work?
Article 8, I'm gonna make, let's see, we have, let's say 5, 6, 7, and let's say 3,000 for, I don't know what a fence costs. So 10,000 is gonna come out of Article 8, so it'll be 175,975, or whatever the math is. This stabilization account is really what the Board of Selectmen and the Board of, Water Commissioners need forever. So that's kind of our bank account.
All right.
And I'll be working with Karen Summit and setting up a separate bank account that has that money put aside.
All right.
Everybody will know what's in that money, when money comes out of it, when money goes into it. We haven't talked about that yet.
Okay, let's just move on here with this, okay? So you're gonna make the numbers work
Yep,
for the amount of free cash, and that's
Yeah.
why we get the free cash certified.
yep.
So now we know what the money is. So let's just move it forward. I make a motion that we put those articles forward.
Yes, so,
Excuse me, I would just like to say, trying to rebuild the trust with the townspeople. I realize you're looking for 5,000 for the exercise valve. And what are you talking for the storage area? It was 8,000.
no, that number is not what we originally did. She's gonna find that out tomorrow, still.
All right. The residents are fuming as it is.
No, but John says he needs that exercise valve thing.
He said the other one works. Sometimes it gives
Depends.
them a little problem. He also had the manual one to sneak by another year. I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is,
We've got no help to turn.
what I'm trying to say is, we need to build some trust with the townspeople.
You think it would help and go a long way if we didn't put those two articles forward?
Anything you can do to save money would help.
It's a good point. I think we can secure the equipment back there if we get the gates fixed. So that's another thing we haven't quite figured out, another riddle. So,
to answer Roy's question about valves and so forth, they're quite heavy, I don't believe,
No, but we get all kinds of fittings out there. There's fittings, there's flanges, you know, all that stuff. So stuff that you can pick up and walk off with.
Is it possible to throw those in the garage? No, it's not, okay. I don't know what they look like, that's
If you had it like a fenced-in area with a fence on it, then they can't get into it, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they'll get in if they want to, they cut the fence regardless, but with the price of iron up, I just thought it made sense to keep the stuff under cover.
Yeah.
I just think in all honesty, any dime you can save this year is, go a long way.
Well, I think,
Times
I like that
$1,000,000.
idea, but, so what do you think?
Well, I'm just, on the number 6 one there, if you wanna put that off, that's all right, but I'm just going by the superintendent's recommendation on the gate valve exerciser, and he's saying he needs it. I mean, I don't know.
I think
I
we
don't-
talked about this before, so is it something, the existing gate valve exerciser,
Yeah,
is that something that it doesn't, it's kind of temperamental?
yeah,
Okay. And then, can we get it refurbished?
I tried once.
And then,
I sent it out once.
yeah,
He said it's what, 39 turns for the each way, right?
Yeah. It, number one, it's old, it's so old, you can't really get stuff for it anymore. And, it's, electrical, which is,
can we rent them?
yeah, I honestly don't know.
Okay.
How about a lease purchase? Is that something possible?
And I never seen that setup.
Well, how often do we use it?
Mostly during water breaks.
So in other words, we'd have to rent it, but we'd have to send somebody down to pick one up? Or do it by hand?
Or do it by hand.
Okay, so,
I think I'm just trying to say, you have to separate your needs from your wants.
you know, I think in a bind,
Close that door.
Well, no, you know, it has to be open.
I think in a bind, you could either do it by hand if the thing's broken on the spot, which we've had done in the past. Or we could rent it if we had time enough to go get a rental unit somewhere. Or the other thing we could do is we could get closer to these other water departments in the area and then see if we might be able to get some mutual aid and kind of, you know, borrow and stuff like that.
So this way we have limited help, it's, you know, some of those are pretty tough. Yeah. Some of them, you get them shut or you try to get them open and one man can't even really do it. You got 2 men on a wrench.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a devil's advocate question? The one that you have currently, is that creating a safety issue that it may become someone could get hurt by using it?
It's, well, it is electrically powered,
Okay.
so we've had trouble with the cord.
Now this new one's hydraulic,
Yeah, these are hydraulically powered.
no electric.
And that would reduce the potential safety risk,
Well, yeah, electricity and water
or not good?
are not good together.
Yeah, but if we have to do it by hand, which can be done, there's no electricity.
No,
We have the wrenches to do it by hand.
Just a heating pad at the end of the day, right?
Well, we gotta probably have to get these guys a wine membership or something.
it's, they're gonna be pretty tough. And sometimes, you know, it's not just up and down once or twice. You can't get them to see. So you go up, down 3 or 4 times to try and get them to shut down.
I hate the waffle here, but, you know, like Stewie says, it might go a long way with everything else we have to do. So maybe we ought to put it off and maybe reevaluate either having a contingency if we don't have, if the tool breaks during a situation, you gotta find out where we can get one. Do we already have a contingency for that? Or do we just bring out the wrenches and have them start turning it by hand? What do we do?
contingency as to where to find.
You're out there as a break and you're turning, you're exercising the valves or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, I mean, usually we try to use that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, can you rent them or you don't know?
I don't know.
Let me ask you
Kind of
this,
it's a specialty tool. It's not really a very common item.
if you went for that tool, can you subtract $5,000 from something else, so you're not pushing up the budget?
I think.
I look at unemployment here at $25,000, my hair stands up straight.
Stu, that's a real number.
That came from
That's a real number. And
fiscal meeting.
the other numbers really are we're gonna talk a little bit about the consent order. Unfortunate, this piece of paper in here.
I understand.
I have a question on that gate valve thing, where it's a
Yeah.
safety thing, whatever, should that be under like number 4? Two
Say,
together, or?
well, it was more a tool, we thought, so, versus, so maybe what we should do is revisit it, maybe if there is a fall town meeting, and see how the summer goes and see, and then come back. It's something you probably gotta talk
I'm all for
about.
making a decision right now, so at this point, I think that what we ought to do is, we have one that's working. We could get a rate repaired again, we can find somebody to repair that, or we can rent one somewhere. Or we can go mutual aid with Groveland or Georgetown or Ipswich. We can do something, we have the way to do it, because we're not the only ones that have it.
Mhm.
So we can get this thing, let's just move on here. With the storage area, we can secure more valuable things with locks and chains in the maintenance fund or something. So we can just move on here. Stewie's got a point. Anything we can do to keep the budget down, or the rates down, is going to be much appreciated by the rate holders. Okay, so I take the motion back. Let's just keep the motions 1 through 9, for the transfer articles. And make sure the mathematics is right for the stabilization number.
Yep.
Do I have a second?
No, second. That's stupid. We got anything else we gotta do tonight?
Yeah.
Getting kinda late here.
We did the purchase orders, we did review of Weston and Sampson contract. We got just 2 more items, upcoming performance evaluations. We haven't had evaluations here in a long time, so we've got to do some evaluations.
Something like that's gonna have to be in executive session.
Well, yeah,
Can't do
there's a
that.
way to do it, but, so we need to get, the next meeting, we should be looking at how do we, get this thing accomplished, because we're going into a new year, people are getting raises.
No, I'm just saying, we're gonna have to do that in executive session, we can't do that.
Well, we have to do the evaluations for one guy, this John. But John's gotta do the evaluations for everybody here. Everybody doesn't know that they're doing a good job or whatever. Okay, so we've gotta get that at some point in the next month. So John, I think that the motion should be that we get going on performance evaluations for the department.
All right.
Which includes yourself, John, so we're gonna have to figure out how to do that at a meeting,
All right.
okay? So that's the motion. Do I have a second?
No, second. Favor.
Aye. And then the ACOP. The ACOP means administrative consent order with penalty. Okay, so that was brought up at the selectmen's meeting, and a lot of detail. I think the chairman read it into the record and completely. So anybody watching this meeting can refer to that meeting to get the whole gist of the administrative consent order. Okay, but in conjunction with that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to due to the intensity of the issues at hand concerning the water department, I want a motion to designate, I guess I'm here, me, to conduct an investigation about the information we do have, and just to get this investigation, to get the facts together, because we have a lot of things that are hearsay. I want to get that so we can respond to any kind of inquiries. I want to have the investigation to talk to the people that, were here during this incident, and just get the facts down, so there'll be no question about going forward here. It might also include, not just myself, but we would get the town administrator involved, and maybe a selectman or two, just to, to talk to the people, get this thing down to
I
establish.
think before we go any farther there, I think we gotta find out, somebody like maybe Debbie or whatever, the legal part of it, where they haven't, that whole thing hasn't finished out with,
I know, but,
You know what I'm
so
saying?
the reason why I'm going forward with this kind of a discussion is that we need to be proactive on this.
No, but what I'm saying is, I don't know what we can and can't say, So
Well, I've already checked into it, so.
I don't wanna open up a can of worms and get myself in trouble.
Well, all we need to do is make a motion to say that we're gonna conduct our internal investigation on the matter, and the matters at hand, so.
I'll do that, but I'm not gonna talk about it.
No, we just need to establish the facts, so. I'll second it. All in favor?
Right.
Aye. And what else we got?
That's it, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.